Over the last couple of class periods, you've been learning and practicing how to transform a solid piece of clay like this into a hollow rounded form like this. But what if you don't want a rounded hollow form that looks like a dome? What if instead you wanted a cylinder that was open on both ends? Maybe you want a cylinder that's wide and short. Maybe you want a cylinder that's narrow and tall. Whatever size and shape that you want of a cylinder, you can create them using an alternative method of pinch using a pencil or two and a dowel. So let's try that out. For this pinch method exercise, you will need your board, your wire cutter, your dowel, your two pencils, your cloth, and 1/2 pound piece of clay. The first step is to prepare your clay. When we prepare our clay, we wedge. Wedging is mixing and compressing our clay. The next step is to cut your 1/2 pound clay in half. Remember, this is just an exercise and we're practicing our skill. So we're going to work with a small amount of clay. So if I'm cutting a 1/2 pound of clay in half, each one of these is 1/4 pound. The next step is to make a cylinder. A cylinder is a round form with flat ends. If I want to make a long form that's hollow, I need to make my cylinder long. If I want to make a short form that's hollow, I'm going to make my cylinder short. I'm going to choose to make a long cylinder. Remember, every time you tap your clay against a flat surface, the side that hits the flat surface will get longer. Now I'm going to use my hands to round out my corners. I can also roll my clay between my hands like this, and I can roll in one direction on my board. To flatten out my ends, I will just carefully tap the ends of my clay cylinder against my board. So now I have a clay cylinder. If I want to make a short form that is hollow, I need to make a short cylinder. Here is my long cylinder. I'm going to make this into a short cylinder. So with 1/4 pound, I've made a long, skinny cylinder, and with the other 1/4 pound of my clay, I've made a short, wide cylinder. For this exercise, you will need to make a long, skinny cylinder and a short, wide cylinder. In order to use a dowel to stretch out your wall, you want to first start with a pencil. You want to find the exact middle of your cylinder, and you're going to push your pencil straight through to the other end. And then what you're going to want to do is very gently, with even pressure, roll out your clay so that hole gets a little bit larger. Notice that I have the cloth over my board. This will keep the clay from sticking to my board. Once that hole gets a little bit larger, I can stick the larger dowel into that opening. Now, I want a wall that is about 1/4 of an inch thick. So these are about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to place my pencils on either side of my cylinder, and what these are going to do, they're going to act, see if I can show this to you, as a stopping point for my rolling. So I do not want my dowel to go any lower than these pencils. So notice my dowel is equal on both sides, and I'm going to start from the bottom, and I'm going to roll my clay. Notice that that's getting bigger. When I have made a complete rotation with my dowel touching the pencils the entire time, I know that I have a wall that's 1/4 of an inch. So one thing I can do is to check and look underneath here, and if I don't see light in between these two pencils and the dowel, I know that I can't go any further. So when I'm done, I have a hollow cylinder. So that's my short cylinder. What would happen if I did my long, narrow cylinder? Let's try this from another angle. I want to push my pencil straight through the middle. Take your time. And then I'm just taking my fingers and I'm twisting the pencil. Make sure you use even pressure. Once that hole is big enough, I'm going to push my dowel through the hole. Make sure that the distance between the ends and the edge of your cylinder are the same. Put your pencil underneath each dowel side. And you will notice if you can make a full rotation with no light showing through. So you'll have to look on either side and you should see no light. I'm going to do this one more time. And that will give me a tall skinny cylinder. Both walls for each cylinder are about 1/4 inch thick. For your practice exercise today, I would like for you to practice making a short and wide cylinder that's opened at both ends, and a tall, narrow cylinder that's opened at both ends using your dowel and your pencils. When you're done, I would like for you to cut each in half. That is going to allow you to see if you did a good job of evenly stretching and rolling your clay out. You will take a picture of these 2 pieces of clay cut in half, and you'll upload them to your Padlet. Remember, the length or the height of your cylinder and the width of your cylinder is dictated by the solid cylinder you start with. So if you want a short, wide cylinder, you need to start with a short, wide, solid piece of clay. If you want a tall, narrow cylinder, you need to start with a tall, narrow, solid piece of clay. When you are done today, don't forget to recycle your clay. Remember, you want to spray, stick both halves together, pinch out thinly, dip in your water, and then place in your plastic bag for another day. Have fun and get to claying.